If you're standing in the center of the hub at Disneyland, you can see many exciting parts of the park, but you don't really see much else. For as crowded as Anaheim has become over the years, you truly do escape it when you're in those parks. That's intentional, and it required far more than just luck on Disney's part. When Walt Disney built Disneyland, sightlines were important to him. Having careful control over what a guest was and wasn't able to see at any given moment was an important element in crafting a story. And if Disneyland was about nothing else, it was about telling stories. Luckily, Walt being Walt, there was no concern about keeping that in mind when it came to what was built in the parks. However, he still had to worry about what was built outside of the parks. While it was an uncertainty at the time of its opening, Disneyland would ultimately become a wild success. And as a result, businesses small and large were quick to buy up as much land around the new tourist destination as quickly as possible. That very land grab would be part of the reason why, years later, Walt would purchase as much property as possible in Central Florida while planning Disney World. His hope was that with a buffer area between his projects and the outside world, the sites of uncontrolled development would never have an impact on a guest's experience. In any case, the reality of the situation in Disneyland was that he didn't have that buffer to depend on, and so the potential of high-rise hotels and resorts around the park posed a threat to the sightlines and immersion within it. It all started in 1963 when Sheraton West submitted plans to the city of Anaheim for a 22-story hotel just to the northeast on Ball Road. At the top of the hotel would be a penthouse restaurant that would allow people to look into Disneyland. Walt wasn't concerned with people seeing into the park, however it meant at the same time guests within the park would see the hotel, and that would be a problem. But it wasn't his land, so there really wasn't anything he could do about it. Unless, of course, he could control what other people could build. In 1964, Walt personally reached out to the city council and asked that they consider imposing height limits. His argument was that Disney was committed to helping grow the city of Anaheim through Disneyland's success. However, that success was dependent on Disneyland remaining a high-quality experience people would want to visit. So in a way, it was in these businesses' best interest to help maintain the illusion and the magic that Disneyland created in order to keep tourism healthy in the region. The council ended up approving the Sheraton plans under the condition that the building be reduced from 22 stories to 14 stories. However, with other high-rise proposals coming in, including a 750-foot tower resembling the Seattle Space Needle, a more permanent solution needed to be put into place. So in August of 1964, a joint meeting between the Anaheim City Council and Planning Commission took place to vote on a proposed sliding scale height limit in the area. The idea was that the height limits would be reduced the further away developers built from Disneyland. Properties right next to the park, for instance, would be limited to 75 feet in height, while properties 2,200 feet from the hub would be allowed to build up to 125 feet. The concept itself wasn't a new one. It would often be used in areas near airports in order to allow planes to take off and land without issues. However, this would be the first time it would be used for something as recreational as a theme park. While some in the community felt that Disney was overstepping the line of what they should be allowed to control, the proposed height limit passed unanimously with a 6-0 vote. This policy would sit untouched for over 15 years until it was revised for the first time in 1980. This time, instead of the limitations applying evenly in a radial pattern around Disneyland, height limits would depend on the direction of the property. Property to the north of Disneyland was further limited by up to 50 feet, while limits to the west were actually reduced. Additionally, developers were asked to float balloons to their project's max height to ensure that it wouldn't be visible from within Disneyland, a common practice that even Disney employs today when planning new lands and attractions. These limits were adjusted once more in 1993 and are still in effect today, over 50 years after they were first introduced. As for the resistance to these height limits, well, there really isn't any. According to Anaheim city officials in 2015, developers hadn't filed any lawsuits to try and overturn the limits. It's possible that they agree that in order for their developments to flourish, Disneyland needs to flourish, and that maintaining the illusion of the magic is important to do that. It's also possible they just don't want to deal with the legal headache that comes with challenging the city and by extension the Walt Disney Company. It's also possible they just don't care. After all, building anything in a city today means following a staggering number of regulations and rules, and this is just another one of them. The height limits around Disneyland wouldn't be the last time the Walt Disney Company influenced local or federal laws, and whenever they did, it invited debate from both sides. Wherever you stand on the issue though, it's hard to deny that when Disney has a vision, in this case literally, they'll do what it takes to make it a reality.